So I've been trying to make this happen for a little while. I should say we've been trying to make this happen for a little time, a little while. But in the Notsam studio for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, DJ extraordinaire Valentino Khan. What's going on, man? What's the haps? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Just took one of those flights where you need to sleep on them,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I'm here.
Listen to that bass. Listen to that bass in your voice.
That's the best part about having chronic sinus problems and lack of rest is I just got that smooth jazz radio voice now.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm kind of jealous that, like, you don't even use it.
I think
you got it and you don't even, you're a DJ, you don't even need it.
I went through like a second puberty at some point.
Yeah. Well, it's working, man.
The doctor says it's really rare.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, what, second puberty?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I was happy to hear.
Is that when you
it.
grew the handlebar mustache?
Yeah. It was like first it was just like the chest hair, and then now it's
the handlebar. Yeah. Well, welcome, man.
Your beard is amazing now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I mean, it doesn't have the style that yours does.
I mean, it's like the bold John Moxley. Like, I don't know if you've gotten that comparison.
I have.
Yeah,
I've gotten since I've shaved my head, it's a few Triple H's here and there, but I think that's more just the whole style. But it's a lot of Shawn Michaels, Bald Shawn, obviously.
Yeah.
Bald Shawn, a lot of John Moxley, especially when Mox shaved his head.
Yeah.
Then everybody was like, and a lot of Nick Gage. I don't know if you know Nick Gage from GCW, but a lot of that too. Were you at all inspired? I mean, I know you're as big of a wrestling fan as you are. When we think handlebar mustache, obviously we think Hulk Hogan. Yours is not bleached blonde, but was that at all an inspiration for you?
It's funny you say that because and it's funny because right now it's like Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't dressed up for Halloween since I was a little kid. And then I did a Halloween show a couple years ago. It was like at House of Blues in Orange County. And naturally, I was just like, I don't want to say easiest costume I could pull off, but like, what's the natural costume I could pull off? And I was like, well, it's already there. And so, yeah, I ordered Hulk Hogan merch on Amazon and wherever, WWE shop or whatever it was. And then you would think it was easier to like dye this blonde.
Yeah.
But I think my hair is so jet black that like so I bought like a blonde spray on hair dye. And I was like, all right, this is going to be easy. But I like just sprayed it on. And it's just like, it's like barely showing up. So I had to do like 4 or 5
You know what that is? That's that second puberty testosterone.
It's the second puberty. It limits your Halloween costume selection.
Because it strengthens that base.
It ends. You know what? It ended up though, like I kind of just was like a dirty blonde Hulk Hogan.
That's kind of cool.
I'll show you after. There's a bunch of pictures and videos of me as Hulk Hogan.
So when did you? So I mean, for those that don't know who you are because they're wrestling fans, not music fans. You're a extraordinarily successful DJ, but
Thank you.
Wrestling fans might know you best as the person that was announced via the WWE's Twitter account as the DJ for SummerSlam. And I'll tell you what made me excited is that celebrity involvement is always good. I always like celebrities getting involved in my wrestling because, throwing it into the mainstream and slapping your name on it, it's always cool for me. But there's also this other thing where it's like, for instance, if the gig is DJing in the stadium before SummerSlam, and you get somebody that's up there and they're like wearing a Hulkamania t-shirt that WWE just gave them, and like they just know wrestling from when they were growing up, and I'm like, there's still that thing in me that's like, no, I don't want you. Like, I want Bad Bunny, right? Because I know that Bad Bunny loves it, and Bad Bunny's going to do the work.
And he put in the work. He actually trained.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I go like, okay, who's this Valentino Khan that's DJing SummerSlam? Who is he to get this DJ? And then I start going through your Twitter, and I'm like, okay, Valentino Khan. And then my buddy Troy Kwan, another DJ, he's like, this is the guy I've been telling you about that's a big wrestling fan. I was like, no way. Awesome. And then I go a little deeper into the Twitter account, and I see all the retro shirts. I see everything, and I'm like, okay, this is great. He's one of us.
Yeah. I think that's and to be quite honest, that was like, I didn't care at the end of the day. I'm gonna do me, but like that was the only, like, for lack of a better term, like concern that I had going into it was like, I know how wrestling fans are, and I know
because you are one.
Because I yes, exactly. Yeah. So I understand, like, you get up there, the first thought that comes to everybody's head, or even before you get up there when you're announced, is who the fuck is this guy? And then you got to just embrace the moment. And like, really, I mean, you've seen it. Like, I think the best example in that right now is Roman Reigns. Like, just pushed so hard to be like babyface, like for years. And now he's just, oh my God, he's just so money. Cause they finally listened to what the fans kind of wanted after. But I think because they didn't listen for so many years about everybody, all the like diehards being like, turn him heel, turn him heel. Now that he finally has, and obviously Paul Heyman helps any situation go over, but now that they have, it's just like it's incredible. So like for me, it's like I'm not bigger than whatever they say out there, and I just got to embrace it. So I was joking with like staff. I even told like Stephanie McMahon after it, I was like, man, I was ready to turn heel. If they boo me,
let's go.
Then yeah. It's sports entertainment.
And I've got to tell, I mean, as somebody that's been out there and going like, well, I'm a wrestling fan, they're going to embrace me.
Yeah.
And it's gotten booed out of buildings before pre-shows. It kind of feels good. Like there is, when you get that reaction, you're like, oh, this is what everybody talks about. Like, this doesn't feel bad.
I had the same conversation. It was like, there was a little part of me that was like, it'd be pretty sick if everybody booed me. But thankfully,
they cheered you.
I got cheered at the end, so that's all I wanted.
The only bad part would be if you're there DJing, you're doing your thing, you got your hands up and everything, and there's no reaction.
Yeah,
no reaction is the only bad reaction.
I draw. I'm sure we're going to talk about this more during the podcast, but there's definitely parallels with crowd interaction that like I've drawn from pro wrestling. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, if there's no reaction, it means they don't care.
Well, it's interesting,
which is what you don't want.
Right, exactly.
Whether you're a musician or you're out there, suplexing people in the ring.
Yeah, and I think too that when you look, and I don't think this is that much of a stretch, when you look at pro wrestling outside of its fans, it's a fairly misunderstood art form, and I think you could say the same thing about DJing and electronic music. I think that people who are into it are really passionately into it, and people who are not into it, they don't get it. They see a guy up there. Yeah. They're like, are those knobs even plugged in? What's he even doing? I could do that.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand what it is that they're seeing.
It now that like I've always thought about that, but like you've put it in like more succinct terms now that I'm thinking about it, where it's like it's the argument of like, oh, they're just acting in there, or like, no, like when Jeff Hardy jumps off of a ladder from 20 feet up and crashes through a table onto thin padding, like that hurts.
It kills. Like
when Mick Foley gets thrown off the top of a Hell in a Cell and crashes through an announce table. That was like before, like you can tell the announce tables are a little more like, especially when they do those spots.
Yeah, ready
like
to go.
They're a little more ready to go now. Like that was, nobody had any idea. So with me, like a lot of people are like, oh, there's a couple of misconceptions. I think some people that watch a DJ set and they're like, oh, he's like making the sounds live right now. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like playing songs. But then some people are like, oh, that the other side of the coin is like, oh, that's super easy. And like there is a part to it that once you understand it, it is easy. But it's like, it's more about like the actual like interaction with the crowd, reading the crowd of like what they're into. Like that's why I love DJing in Vegas now too, because like a lot of times you'll get people that like are just like tourists, to be honest. Like even like I'll do shows elsewhere and they're there for me. But like there's always a part where like, oh, I kind of maybe heard of that guy or something, and then you do it and like I said, you're never bigger than them. You gotta read them and know how to interact.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. I mean, I was having a conversation with one person in particular that was one of the wrestlers that was talking about wrestling during the pandemic and wrestling in front of no people.
Yeah.
And how difficult it was, because it's what you just described. It's the same thing where, an experienced superstar mid-match is going to be listening to the crowd, and regardless of what was planned, they're going to listen to how the crowd reacted to this, and it's going to inform where they go from there. Oh, we should do more of this. We should do less of that. When there's nobody in the audience, it's just like, man, we're going to plan this thing out and assume that it went all right.
Yeah, I mean, I felt for a lot of those guys and girls like during that time, especially like I think Drew McIntyre, I felt really bad for because he has this great comeback story about himself. And, his big moment was going over Brock. And then, there's just nobody there to celebrate. I felt really bad when, they were going to do it in Tampa. I mean, they ended up doing it next year and stuff. But, it was. And I think at first there was a critique when they started to pump sound into the arena. But I think they needed to do it, like, because they now that I compare it to, like, I remember the first like SmackDowns and Raws when I was watching during the pandemic, I was like, this is like something I'm always gonna remember. But man, it's like weird to hear like them cutting promos to like a hollow.
Yeah.
Even when like they had Stone Cold come back, I think for one of those earlier episodes, and I think that was still before they pumped sound.
It was,
and it was like, oh yeah, didn't he do some joke about like he was like, give me a hell yeah, or like and then like nobody said anything to the.
But it was weird watching on TV. Like it almost didn't land because there wasn't even a laugh. There was nothing.
Yeah, there was.
And you're like, oh, I guess
I was laughing.
I guess this is funny. Yeah, but it was. Yeah, it was weird. And I mean, that's the thing about like Drew's title win is that, like, as much as arenas full of fans are so much better than the Thunderdome, we started to take the Thunderdome for granted because the Thunderdome is so much better than what it was before. Like, it's night and day. When you think about like Drew, like beating Randy Orton in the Thunderdome, that's a totally different thing than Drew beating Brock Lesnar in an empty Performance Center. It wasn't even the Capitol Wrestling Center. It wasn't renovated. It was just the Performance Center with a WrestleMania sign in it. You remember at WrestleMania, like the joke was that you could still see the fan on the ceiling, and it was like, that's WrestleMania's biggest fan. Yeah.
I think I want to say the first time they started pumping sound in was that Edge and Randy Orton greatest wrestling match ever.
I think so.
And that was like a good barometer for like, does this like work?
Yeah, that was.
And I think that match needed, because that was such a great match. It needed. It was like it needs to have some sort of like better sound behind it.
Yeah. No, that match, like, I think it's severely underrated for what it was. Like that match was so much more than I think people realized it was, and that really was like the sound was part of it. Like the chants in that match were specific. Like they weren't actually sitting there saying, this is the best wrestling match that's ever been. They were like, this is almost like the whole thing is a tribute to everything that's great about wrestling. And that's why the microphone came down from the ceiling. And that's why certain chants happened when they did.
Howard Finkel.
The voiceover. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. It was, I think like you said, it was not about like whether or not you thought that was the greatest match ever. It was more about, to me, that what made it special was just that they had the balls to call something the greatest match ever. Yeah. And like, we can make at least you're able to make the argument that like it was really, really great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I do remember I was making fun of it myself. I remember when they were like leading up to that match, and like it was just a super awkward ending of Raw because it was like Edge and Randy and Charlie Caruso, I think, was the one that was in between them. And she just goes, guys, this could be the greatest wrestling match ever. Yeah. And like the show ends, and I was like, what the hell was that? What are you talking about?
I mean, also like to double down on that point, like the balls to do that during the pandemic when there's no fans.
Yeah.
So like they really had to plan everything out like very meticulously, because like if you think about it, they're like, that could have fallen flat on its face, and then you had not even a dead crowd, but like no crowd behind it. So it's just like empty bumps, like very reverberated, hollow performance center
where you can kind of hear like you're listening to the commentary and you can hear it over like the mic in the TV feed, but you can also kind of hear it in the room.
It's like Michael Cole's voice echoing. Like,
yeah. So have you been? Were you a wrestling fan from the time you were a kid, or did you fall into it later?
Yeah, I probably got into it when I was like maybe 12 or 13. Basically Attitude Era. I think I first started watching, I think the first pay-per-view I ever watched was I was getting into it, and then the first pay-per-view I actually watched was SummerSlam 99, where Stone Cold got hit by the car.
Survivor Series.
No, SummerSlam.
I think he got hit by the car at Survivor Series. I think it's SummerSlam that year.
SummerSlam
was the triple threat.
Oh, so it was a triple threat
with Jesse Ventura as the referee.
Yeah, wasn't that?
And then he got hit by a car at Survivor Series.
because
he was supposed to, I think, have a match with Triple H or something.
I thought Survivor Series was when he came. It was like after he came back, like a couple of years or a year later or so. Then they had the Rikishi angle. Then and then they had then Triple H was finally like, yeah, Austin, it was me, you dumb son of a bitch. Like I ran. Obviously, I hate you the most here.
Yeah.
And then the Survivor Series is when they had that match where he lifts Hunter up with with that forklift thing. And then as a kid, I'm like, man, did they just like make Triple H die on television? Like, I know he's not really dead, but like, is his character dead? Like,
right.
And then he came back on Raw the next night, I think, and he just had like some bandages. Like, that car literally was like crushed to like a panini.
What? Yeah. It was like an auto body. Like it was like that scene in National Lampoon's Vacation where the car's just crushed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yo, Triple H is the man.
Yeah,
he only needs a Band-Aid after that.
I think that in a weird way, like that put him over more as a heel, where they're like, man, they didn't even give this dude time off TV. He's just like back. He just like bounced back.
Yeah. Because that was also the era when people were like, oh, Triple H is pulling strings behind the scenes and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I think it did make him more of a heel. That's so funny, though. I love that is like the first big storyline that you remember.
Yeah.
Because in my life, I try to reference, I did it for The Rock as often as humanly possible. I did it for The Rock. Because, I mean, I remember as a kid, like watching that. And Rikishi says not only is it Rikishi who ran him over, but he did it for The Rock. And I'm like sitting there going, what? Rikishi?
I wonder if, this is just me thinking out loud, I wonder if Triple H being the culprit like was part of the plan all along, or they realized that like, nah, to make this really like make sense, it needs to like be like, yeah, Triple H hired Rikishi.
I think my theory, I would love to talk to somebody like Backstage. I would love to like score an interview with Vince, and like the first question is like, let's talk about Rikishi. That'd
be the first question.
Yeah, first question right off. Like, did he really do it for The Rock? But I would I think so. Here's how I think it went down. I think they were like, first of all, they ran Stone Cold over. And they're like, we don't know who the hell ran him over. We'll figure it out when he gets back.
Yeah, because he had the neck surgery.
Right. So we'll figure that out later. And then he's like, okay, I'm ready to come back. And they were like, oh shit, we didn't figure out who ran him over. And so then they go like, okay, we want to make a heel.
Yeah, because they had like a whole year, so you're just like, oh, well,
we'll figure it out.
And it's probably hard to plan that far in advance because you don't even know who's active at that time. You know?
Especially, dude, the Attitude Era, like how fast everything was moving back then. Yeah. So I don't think that they knew.
Yeah.
And then I think that they're like, let's make Rikishi a monster heel. Like, this is going to work. We're going to turn him into a heel because clearly that's what they wanted to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they did that. And then I think that they realized nobody's buying this. And then they decided, let's retcon this. Let's say it was Triple H all along. But I don't think Triple H was I think
Triple H was like probably the backup plan. Like, no matter what.
He might have been the first plan.
Yeah. Or just like, he's the plan they know would work no matter what.
Right.
And I think maybe they were like, you know what, we can take a chance with this Rikishi angle, and then if this doesn't work out,
we'll just say it was Triple H.
Triple H. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll just say it was Triple H. Yeah. So, did you at any point did you want to be a wrestler or get involved in wrestling, or was it just like, yo, this is my thing?
I think I always had an itch to like get involved in wrestling. I don't know if I ever wanted to be a pro wrestler because I also I understood how taxing it is on people's bodies to do that. Mm-hmm. That being said, I would we would make like home videos when I was a kid of just like taking bumps through like balsa wood, just making her on tables and shit like that.
Were you a backyarder?
No, I wasn't that crazy. I wasn't trying to like break my neck or anything like that. But like, yeah, I mean, I remember one time I built this little bump I was supposed to take, like doing a flip off the couch. And so like it was like a bunch of cardboard, and we had put like pillows underneath it because it was just like hardwood floor underneath that. And then whatever I did a flip off the couch. Like somebody threw me off the couch, and I totally missed like the spot where I was supposed to land, and I just went on like hardwood. But thankfully, I watched Tough Enough, and I remember Taz being like, "If I ever slip in the supermarket, I know how to break my fall, and I know how to like just tuck your neck in and." Wow, I'm not saying I know how to properly.
You watch Tough Enough.
Yeah, so I was like, I landed.
Taz let you know.
Taz,
human suplex machine.
Yes, exactly.
Beat me if you can, survive if I let you.
And then I hit the ground. I was like, At first I was like, oh shit, I think I overshot it, and I was like, oh, I'm good. Yeah,
that's great. I love that you were like, luckily, I've seen Tough Enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's if I ever met Taz, meet Taz, I'll tell him that.
Thank you for saving my back. I would have
saved my life.
Yeah, no problem, kid.
Yeah. Shout out MTV.
So did you ever get into ECW? Like once you got into that Attitude Era, did you start to fall into everything else, or were you just a WWE guy?
I was really always like WWF, WWE guy. I would like stay up on like the ECW wrestlers at the time. Like I was up on like RVD and Sabu and like Sandman and all those guys at the time. I wouldn't really watch it on television at the time because like I still also like, as a kid I had like homework and shit,
Yeah.
But
you couldn't be up at like Saturday at 2:00 in the morning trying to find ECW.
I mean, Raw as it is would run until like 11 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah. Where were you raised? Where you
LA.
from? Okay. Yeah. All right. So there wasn't even a West Coast feed that would go on at like 5. They had it on regular.
Well, I think like you could see the live feed if you had a satellite, but then if you had normal cable, you just had to watch it at like on tape delay. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess in LA they got ECW last anyway. Like ECW is such an East Coast thing.
Yeah.
But like you guys wouldn't have gotten it until later anyway. Were you into any independents at all? Like XPW was blowing up, and
I remember XPW. Yeah, they used to do it like I think they did it at like Convention Center. I always like kind of wanted to go. They had that girl like Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
And they had shoot, I'm trying to remember the main dude that they had over there. Oh
Messiah, Pogo the Clown, Supreme.
It's not ringing a bell. I'm gonna think about it. Yeah, but I
Kid
used
Chaos?
to see. Yeah, I think I remember his name. I remember seeing him the flyers and like but they would put it in the newspaper.
Yeah,
in like LA Times and like the back of the sports page, like come to XPW, and then I would watch the clips.
It was crazy.
Did Vic Grimes ever?
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Vic Grimes and New Jack.
Yeah, I remember, and then I remember seeing him. That was that XPW.
Oh yeah,
that was
the
XPW,
scaffolding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, dude. Like these guys are like literally like trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And just cheese graters in the matches and stuff like that. It was like super hardcore compared to like WWF at the time. And I was like, yo, I kind of want to watch this. But then I think like how long did XPW last?
Not that long. A couple years, not that long. And it was like,
I think by the time I wanted to like go to them, I stopped seeing them like throw shows. So.
Yeah. So did you maintain kind of wrestling fandom, or did you dip out for a while?
I did dip out, actually.
You dipped out. A lot of people dip out.
I think I
mean, I love though that like you got like your foundation was so hardcore. Like you don't understand how much I respect you even more. The fact that I threw XPW at you, thinking you'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you were like, yeah, Lizzie Borden and Bob. I'm like, okay, this guy's the real deal. So talk about when did you dip out?
I'm trying to think. So after the invasion stuff, where after they purchased WCW, ECW, probably like a year after that. What's kind of funny is like I dipped out right before like Punk started to become a thing in WWE, and then kind of I think the two things that randomly got me back into watching pro wrestling was everybody like just seeing people on the internet being like, oh this, and this was right after like the pipe bomb stuff and like like Punk is like he's like kind of saving wrestling. He's bringing like great mic work back and stuff like that. So I would watch his promos and I was like, this guy's really interesting. And then the thing that really got me to watch again was like hearing that Shane McMahon came back.
Yeah,
because man, like he puts his body on the line like
my God,
like very few. So I was like,
especially because he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it's like the reverse psychology thing where he feels like people think because he's the boss's son, so people think like, oh, you don't have to put your body on the line. But he's like, no.
He's overcompensating.
Yeah, like not only am I going to, I'm gonna jump off the top of the cell and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what kind of got me back. And then like, oh, he's working with the Undertaker. Oh, they're gonna do a Hell in a Cell match. Like, I ended up going to that WrestleMania in Dallas and like, watching that. Everybody just had their phones out, just waiting for him to like line up the spot, and then just like cross up, and then just like take that leap, and then
Yeah, because that was one of those
surreal.
That was one of those things too, where people weren't really jumping off the top of the Hell in a Cell anymore. So like when Shane did it, it was like you're going, well, the only reason they do this is because Shane's going to jump off the top, but nobody jumps off the top anymore. Like he's not really going to jump all the way off the top, is he? And when he's just like standing out there on the ledge, you're like, we're going to get the moment. It's really going to happen.
The longer they dragged that spot out, the more you were like, oh shit, this is really going to happen.
Yeah.
And then,
So that's great. So that was like 32 in Dallas. Yeah. And that's what brought you back.
Yeah. And then, I actually ended up going to that and then just been back watching and caught up a bunch on like what I missed out on too.
Well, because by then the network's out and you're able to like just go through everything.
Yeah. It's like it's the best thing, you know.
So were you doing music yet in that area when you were in WrestleMania for Dallas? Had you started doing music? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'd probably been set because that was 2016, I believe, that Dallas WrestleMania.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then so I'd been steady touring for like a few years at that point.
When did you start doing music?
I started just making rap beats as a kid, like when I was a teenager, and I like my first like things I ended up doing was like I got like a song with like T.I. and 2 Chainz that got placed. And you know, I like eventually I've ended up working like making beats for like songs with like Lil Wayne, Tyga, Lil Pump, French Montana, like stuff like that. But at the same time, I discovered about this dance music world. So like I've kind of ended up like having these two sides of my career where I like produce music, and at the same time I have my own artist side where I like produce dance music and end up touring DJing from all that. So
do you like one better than the other? Do you like the performance side better than the other? Or do you like having both?
I like having both. I mean, the performance side of it is like, there's definitely an adrenaline rush to that is like, it's hard to sleep sometimes after like a really fun night. But no, I think that both have their challenges because like the artist side, I can kind of do whatever the fuck I want. Mm-hmm. But like the producer side of me too is like, it's a cool challenge to like make a song that like, or make a bed of music that, and sometimes write lyrics, but like make a bed of music that like lets the artist that I'm working with really like shine, and maximize their potential. But the beat is not so dumbed down where it's just like whatever, you know what I mean? So it's a cool balance and balancing act that I feel like I have to pull off.
Yeah. Do you have that thing where you're creating music and you're supposed to be creating it for somebody else, but you hear it and you're like, oh no, this is mine. I'm going to keep this.
I think it's probably happened a couple of times where like, like it, and it's commonplace where it's like, oh, whose project is it going to end up on and stuff. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about making the best possible song, best possible product for people to listen to. So it's just like, I just try to keep that in mind when I'm making decisions as to like literally like musical decisions of like, what am I putting in this instrumental, you know?
Yeah. At what point did the like obsession for wrestling come back? Because like you're a big fan. So like at what point did it go from like, oh, I'm taking a peek at this again to no, I'm all the way back in?
It was pretty quick, honestly. Yeah. it was like, especially going to WrestleMania. Yeah. Like, and you know, as you probably are, you know, very well aware, like always that's the most important time of year with the storyline. So like, you're like, well, if I'm going to go to WrestleMania, I got to start watching Raw and SmackDown again and stuff like that. So like, yeah, it was pretty quick. I caught up pretty quick as to like, you know, who was who. And there was still a bunch of the same faces around there too. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have that thing where you're like, okay, well, now that I've got something going on, especially as your music career started to grow, at the same time that your rejuvenated passion for this thing that you love since you were a kid is growing, did you start going like, well, look, I mean, I might have something to offer these guys. There might be a path here. Or did you look at it as just two separate?
I never really thought that anything like that would happen. That being said, I got to show you this video after, but I actually, so I released this EP in like August of, I want to say 2019, I believe. And I threw a show where me it was like my release party, and I brought a bunch of friends to like DJ with me too, and we were DJing while pro wrestling was happening in a ring right next to us. And it was like music and wrestling at the same time, and it was like sensory overload. And we had some dope talent that was actually there that night. Like Eric Watts was there. Brian Cage was in the main event.
Oh wow!
We worked out a spot. It was with Rogue Wrestling, and we worked out a spot at before where I'm like, the referee gets knocked out. Great wrestling trope. And
it works every time.
I feel like they need to do that more. Honestly, I love it.
More ref bumps,
dude. They used to happen all the fucking time back in the Attitude Era. But yeah, when ref gets knocked out, oh shit, we need a ref. I pull out a ref shirt. End up counting 3 for Cage going over for the win, and then big locker room clearing brawl afterwards, and then I end up hitting Eric Watts with the Stone Cold Stunner at the end.
And you just loved it. You were in paradise. Yeah.
I mean, that was my first time. Like, it's not really taking a bump like when you're hitting a stunner, but like you're jumping and sitting on your ass basically.
Yeah.
So I had to like break the natural, like just human reflex, like don't fall, and then you're like, oh no, it's cool to fall on this flat surface. And then,
the stunner's definitely one of those finishers that like is not the best to do for years and years and years.
I think
it's
that's
like,
probably
I mean, it's
why,
like Hogan's leg drop.
Yeah.
It's like it's bad on your spine to keep doing that.
Yeah,
that's probably what. Yeah, it's probably terrible for Austin's neck, right?
Yeah, I feel like that had to have contributed to that, right? I mean,
it didn't help.
It didn't help, yeah. Plus
didn't help.
all the other things.
Yeah, getting dropped on your head also
exactly
doesn't help too much either.
Oh yeah, and Owen Hart. And,
yeah. So how does it come about that then fans are back? You're watching wrestling through the pandemic era.
Yeah,
you're a fan. Fans are back. You know, WrestleMania happens and it's cool, but it's still like a half full stadium. We're going back to Thunderdome right after. It's not until July that the fans come back. And then SummerSlam is that first real massive show back, full stadium back. Like, this is the big deal.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, what was it, like a week, maybe less before the show, the announcement comes down that, you know, as people file into the stadium, the sweet, sweet sounds of Valentino Khan is going to be blasting through their eardrums. How do you get the SummerSlam gig? How does that happen?
I just got the call one day. They reached out and I was like, let's do it. Like that was, it was definitely surreal. And also like, you know, it was part of the plan that we talked, like, for me to integrate older wrestling themes within the set.
Oh, that's
so
great.
That was kind of a kick for me to like, I really like went back and was like, what was like some of my favorite themes, like, you know, growing up. I even played a couple current ones. Like I did this mashup of Riddle's like bro theme with like Dr. Dre Still Dre.
Oh, that's perfect because the Riddles theme does have that
it's
Dr. Dre, like California.
I'm not trying to call anybody out for but
inspiration.
But if you're going to make a very Californian bro song or like, you know, West Coast hip hop song, it like a great reference, you know. So
what themes did you use in the set?
I used that. I used you know what was kind of crazy? So that was right when they brought the Brood Edge back.
You know what I was about to say, because that's the show that he did, the Brood, and everybody remembered.
Yeah,
that's like one of the best theme songs of all time.
The beat is so dope, and like so that was what came to my head, and I already had like worked on doing that in my set. I mashed up the Brood theme with Mobb Deep Shook Ones.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it works great. But I did that.
Like you do that in your standard sets?
No, I'm not in my normal, but I play it special, like for like the WWE events.
Sure.
And I did that before, like the week before or week or two before, they hinted at it on SmackDown. And I was like, that's crazy. I've been like listening, like of all times they're gonna bring it back.
Yeah.
I've been listening to this.
And so you did it at SummerSlam?
Yeah, played the Brood theme, played Degeneration X, obviously. I did like a Stone Cold thing where I played his theme and then like kind of reworked one of my songs to follow that that classic melody.
Yeah, of course.
So, I think I played it at the very end, but
that's awesome. Especially because that's like as far as classic theme goes, you know what's a theme that's slept on that is like incredible?
Mm-hmm.
Triple H's My Time theme.
Yeah. There's still this weird like percussion element about it where it's like, and it would kind of like suck into like it's like a shoo.
Yes.
I don't know, like that.
Yes.
Like I really gotta like keep listening to that like closer and closer because it always would like go so hard as a kid for me. Like the only way they could have topped it is with an even better song with like the Motorhead theme, which is like, but that was one of my favorite like as a kid because I was like I'm like rooting against this guy, but man, this theme goes hard though.
Because it's also like, I mean, the opening is so important, right? Like Stone Cold's theme, while the riff is incredible, that Glass Shatter is everything. That opening riff of Triple H, doo, doo, time to play the game. But it's that first, like when that first hits, that just makes you go, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part about anybody's theme.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, even if you think of like Seth Rollins, even though it's not technically at the it is at the beginning. It's just to burn it down.
Yeah.
Like, and I just watched him talking about how that was Vince's idea.
Yeah.
Which is, I would have never guessed that in a million years. Vince figuring out hooks for wrestling.
Yeah, he's just sitting there knowing exactly like hit the beat. Like, okay.
He knows when he knows though, you know. So it's you want to. Like, there are like, because it's just the musician in me. It's like I'm just constantly like critiquing everything, not in a negative way necessarily, but just like just learning,
analyzing.
But, analyzing. That's a good word to use here. So, like, I do hear certain themes where I'm like, man, oh, they get excited, like people that really know who's coming out, like, oh, that first hit, I already know their theme. But there's certain themes that are like, they just had a little zinger at the beginning of that.
I mean,
like,
you go back to CM Punk and you think about the beginning of Cult of Personality.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
Riff. Yeah,
everybody knows. So you just got a phone call that they were like, did they know you were a fan?
Yeah, I think I'd done that wrestling event too, where I was, very involved in the ring and all that.
Oh, the independent show you were talking about.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, I just was going to them all the time too, and just posting them on Instagram too. So, yeah.
Oh, so it was like a very public thing, and then WWE's music people are just on top. Neil's on top of it, and he knows who's doing what.
Shout out Neil.
Yeah, and he just called you up and was like, "Hey, what about this gig?"
Well, I get it through my agent, but yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What are we?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what did it live up? Were you nervous going in? Because it's like wrestling fans.
Yeah.
A lot of wrestling fans are only wrestling fans, right? Like they're not sitting there. I mean, there are a lot of wrestling fans that like a lot of other stuff too, but there's a lot of wrestling fans that are just there for the wrestling.
It's funny that it was in Las Vegas because I think playing Las Vegas really prepared me for that. Because, like I said, it was just like, you're able to adapt and cater to people that might not necessarily know, all the music about or are into. So you're able to kind of like gauge what works, even if you're playing stuff that they don't necessarily know, but like what works with a crowd that like isn't necessarily familiar with myself.
Yeah. And who did you end up talking to while you were there? You said did Stephanie McMahon actually check out the set?
She said she liked it.
Okay.
I just saw her backstage, introduced myself for like a couple minutes, talk with her. She was super nice.
You're
super
like, yo,
cool.
I remember when the Undertaker kidnapped you. That wasn't cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was that was right before she turned heel and basically stayed heel forever. She's one of the best heels ever. Honestly.
Yeah,
like
it must run. It probably runs. It just runs in that McMahon family.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
I feel like, especially like around that era, like nobody knew that she had, because she was like her character was very innocent, like she's Vince's daughter, and he's like
she was young too. She was right out of college.
Yeah, and like her character really like did a total 180 once she that Armageddon, the sledgehammer and all that. That was oh my god, I still remember watching that Raw. That was just like one of the craziest endings to Raw when like Triple H like marries Stephanie.
I mean, just the best. Like, that's one of those things. Like, I always say
at her, and then shows the footage at her wedding. Yeah.
Dad, and you son of a bitch, you ruined it. Yeah. You ruined it.
And she's man, I hate you.
I hate you.
That's a good impression, actually.
I do, because it's like so keyed into my head, because I think that my measure of when wrestling is like really, really, really good, it's when you can show it to anybody and they're like, oh, this is great. Like, great wrestling, nobody ever goes wrestling stupid. They go like, okay, that was great. And I remember that segment of sitting there, and man, my dad didn't like wrestling at all. I'm not one of these kids that grew up with like, oh, my parents liked wrestling, so I started watching wrestling. Yeah. Like, no, I found wrestling, and my dad was like, this is dumb. This is stupid. I'll take you to the garden if you want, but I'm going to make fun of it the whole time because it's so stupid. And then we're sitting there, and we're watching Raw, and like you said, it was the end of the show. So, like, he's getting ready to go to bed. I'm getting ready to go to bed because I'm a kid. And we left the TV on because he was watching it. Yeah. And, like,
it captivated him.
It captivated. And then they go to the tape, and Triple H is at the drive-thru going, like, oh, yes, I do. And my dad's just like, this is great. This is fantastic.
I think taking people to the shows live, too, is crazy. I took Diplo to his first wrestling event ever. Oh. He randomly was in Brooklyn when I was in Brooklyn. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm at SummerSlam, come through.
Which SummerSlam was it?
This was the Raw after SummerSlam.
Okay.
When they did it, it was when they had Samoa Joe. It was like the Fatal 4-Way. It was like Samoa Joe, Brock Lesnar, Strowman, and then there was one other. Was it Kevin Owens was in that match? There was one other person.
Or was it Roman?
Maybe it was. Yeah.
Might have been Roman. Was that wasn't the Raw when Vince got arrested? Was it?
No.
Because that was in Brooklyn too.
No. This was like a summer. I want to say SummerSlam 2018.
Okay.
I want to say. And yeah, so I took Diplo there, and like, he's usually like really laid back, like just like, yeah, I'm just like Diplo, whatever. And then like fucking, I took him there, and I've never seen him more like animated, jovial.
He loved it.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is like, it just brings. But he loves Ric Flair and all that and stuff. But like, it brings the I don't know, like kind of the inner kid out of you, especially when you're there live.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It's like it's a place where you're encouraged to shout at, like, to heckle almost, like shout at people, or like,
and just embrace like suspension of disbelief and being a kid. Yeah, I think it was like, I think it was the Royal Rumble that Shinsuke won in Philly.
Yeah,
I think that's the Royal Rumble that it was. But I remember like right after the show, Michael Che was there.
Yeah. I love Michael Che.
And he came out of it and he was like, Sam, I'm so happy. I love this stuff. Like, he was just in this state of like bliss right after it. And you're like, yes, like, this is a guy who like literally does live TV every week. He does SNL. Like, he's seen everything. And he goes to Royal Rumble and he's like, it's just awesome.
It's also like a crazy, like, because it is a mainstream $1 billion business now, but it's also like, it's still a bit of a cult thing where like, if somebody brings up a wrestling reference, or like a figure, or like even like the shirts, like I'll go through like TSA sometimes, and dudes will be like, oh, my man, Macho Man Randy Savage, that's what's up, and some shit like that.
So plus, like, you do the vintage shirts, so it's like people who know.
I don't know if I like really rock any like current merch, because like, I don't know, I like it's like a weird like you have all these collectibles here. It's like a weird collectible thing where I just like, my closet's like full of these.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, and that's the way to go. Plus it's amazing that like the vintage wrestling t-shirt game is just exploded. Like, absolutely exploded. I'm looking at that China shirt and seeing that it's in like mint condition.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like some musicians wear like Gucci to flex. Like, that to me,
some people somehow have like flex. Some people somehow have like dead stock.
Yeah.
Of all that shit. And I'm just like, I guess it was just like, I don't know, maybe they owned a sports memorabilia store. They never sold them, or something. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
But I'm like, great.
So did you, when you're walking around SummerSlam and you kind of get to see how the sausage is made a little bit more than most people do, did your love for it grow? Like, did you end up, like, that's what happened to me, right? Like, the closer that I get and the more that I see, the more I love it. Yeah. And the more I respect it. And the more I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is like that whole like don't meet your heroes thing.
Yeah.
Meet all of them.
Everybody,
this is amazing.
Everybody I met was super cool, super respectful. Had some cool conversations with them, and yeah, it just like your love for it just grows, and the respect that you have grows, and just like they're like my travel regimen is crazy. Where I'm like, yeah, I am in a different city every night sometimes, but theirs is like insane, and I'm also not getting body slammed through like a table every night. You know what I mean? So like that's the and gotta get up and go to the gym and rental cars, all that shit. It's like it's crazy.
Two things: you're not taking bumps, and you don't have to do it in your underwear.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's benefits to this.
Never say never, though. We'll see.
So are you? Are you hoping that this WWE connection expands? Like, are you hoping to become more of a part of the family, doing more things, kind of having the wrestling community become even more aware of you, or is it SummerSlam was cool, I'm gonna keep watching wrestling, I'm gonna keep it moving?
No, I think I'm definitely looking at doing it more.
Yeah.
And I think, at the end of the day, it's just about having fun.
That's it.
So like I said, like no matter what the crowd was gonna react, how the crowd was gonna react to me or whatever, I was just like, just gotta embrace it, and it's like it's sports entertainment.
That would have been great if they just started booing you and you picked up the mic and you like the first thing you have the mic, you're like, get your hands up in the air, boo. Yeah, I didn't like this stinking town anyway.
I was ready. Thankfully, I didn't have to dip into that bag.
Yeah.
Because I love Las Vegas, actually. I don't want to say anything mean about Las Vegas. I fucking love Vegas.
Who would be your heel promo inspiration if you had to dip into that mode? Who do you think you'd be drawing from?
Probably Triple H or Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Triple H is a good heel.
Triple H is great. I mean, even like Shawn Michaels, like
oh yeah,
like singing "Oh Canada." Oh my God,
sticking the flag up his nose.
Jesus.
Well, look, man, like you said, you're touring all over the country. You're in a different city every night. Where can people become more aware of you? I mean, I would hope that wrestling fans want to tap into what you're doing as well, and build this synergy.
I'm at Valentino Khan, KHAN.
And even by the way, even if you're not into dance music and stuff like that, you're a great follow because you post funny videos.
Thank you.
So
appreciate that.
I like when a little Valentino Khan video comes up, I give it the old click ski and because it's funny.
Like I said, like it's all about having fun. I always have incorporated like a sense of humor into my stuff.
You know what video was fun? You know when I knew you were the real deal?
Yeah.
When you posted the video of you packing for SummerSlam, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you just had every wrestling T-shirt imaginable. Yeah.
Those are all my shirts. I just had to dip into my closet for it.
Do you regularly perform? I mean, I see you got a China shirt on. Do you regularly perform in wrestling shirts?
Oh, yeah. I had a friend, actually. It's funny. When, like, touring was coming back after the pandemic, he was like, yo, touring's coming back. You got to buy some new wrestling shirts. I was like, yeah, I probably do, actually.
So people can follow you at Valentino Khan?
At Valentino Khan everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Do people still use? Oh, Facebook's Meta. It's Meta.
Meta.
Now.
Yeah, follow me on Meta.
Follow me on Meta now, guys. I don't know. But yeah, at Valentino Khan everywhere on the internet. ValentinoKhan.com. I don't know if anybody goes to my official website.
If you guys have web browsers.
I said that like I was confused that I have an official website. I do.
Right.
I just don't know if people go to it.
Well, yeah, you don't want to, like, the last thing you want to do is promote your website and have people being like, you have a website? And you're like, oh, no, I didn't know. I didn't know it wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And if people are following you and you're going to their town, they should come to your shows, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm going all over. I got a show right here. Well, not right here, but like I'm in Brooklyn tonight. Next week, doing Orange County. I got a pretty photographic memory, I meant to say.
It's a really nice looking memory.
Yeah, it's a nice looking memory out there. Yeah, I'm all over, man. Doing some Florida dates towards the end of the year. Atlanta next year, which I probably can't even announce yet, but whatever. Just got an exclusive.
It's announced. Yeah. And the Still Way Too Sexy remix, people are losing their minds for it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
People are losing their minds for it.
I just was like, yeah, I actually remember the Right Said Fred song from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then when he sampled it, I was like, wow, he really did that. And I was like, this actually is like really dope to like flip into like a house song. Like, the original's cool too.
Well, man, next time you're in town, you gotta roll through again because
hell yeah.
I feel like we just
you got to come to a show.
I know, but it's so late at night.
I know.
You know, I got kids. But
you have responsibilities that are greater than yourself.
I thank you.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, it sounds so noble.
I understand. Yeah, no, I gotta like putting you over.
Yeah,
here.
you did. You putting you over, kid.
Yeah. No, I understand that with like any of my friends that are like in their 30s now and started families. I'm like, oh, we don't see each other as often, but I understand why.
Yeah, yeah. Like your guy was like, yo, if you want to come to the show, it's at 1:30 tonight. Yeah. I'm like, do I want to? Yeah, hell yeah, I want to. That looks like a blast. But you know what? It's going to be midnight, and I'm going to be asleep already. So
I'll do a 6 p.m. show next time just for you.
I can't. I'll go to the matinee. Yeah. I'll be there for the matinee. Yeah. Cool, man.
I should start doing that. Yeah, like the matinee show.
Do the matinee. Hey. The happy hour show. Yeah. We barely scratched the surface here, dude.
Yeah.
So come back.
I'm down.
Valentino Khan, appreciate your time. Thank you, man. And good luck with everything. You're crushing it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.